Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to Season 2 Part 3 of What If Deku Had a Super Speed Quirk. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the story. Everyone in the room turned towards Katsuki and stared. The boy with spiky blonde hair looked around the room, confused. The teacher simply watched the class with an unreadable gaze. The man seemed happy that his class wasn't going to let what happened to them destroy their futures. A green-haired boy was the first to recover from the shock of his friend complimenting him. Kakin, where did that come from? The emerald-eyed boy sputtered in shock. Are you feeling okay? I've never heard you compliment anyone before. You needed a new nickname. It didn't feel right calling you Deku. The atomic blonde growled. Deku just didn't represent the hard work you put in. As for the rest of you, extras, quit staring. Before we continue, I have one announcement to make. Due to the recent directives that the Safety Commission issued, we have to get the hero training camp approved by them, the sleep-deprived teacher wearily said. Once we get approval, we will host the camp. After speaking with some parents, Nezu feels it's important that parents have some oversight over UA. For the next 6 weeks, he and a few other parents will select more members for the panel. The goal is to address safety concerns before they become an issue. Everyone in class 1 stared in shock at their teacher. It seemed the principal was trying to bring the parents into the fold when it came to the activities at UA. Recently, the public's opinion of UA was slowly rising between the human feeling response to the sports festival and the announcement that the principal wanted to bring parents into the mix meant UA was trying to shift away from Safety Commission. The blue-haired boy was still furious that he couldn't stop the hero killer Stain, who was currently killing what he deemed to be fake heroes. After the class had finished critiquing each other's performance during the sports festival, the black-haired teacher turned the videos off. The rest of the week flew by. The only detail of note was that a group called the Metal Liberation Army was started to gain tractions in the community. Several powerful villains vanished as the group began to gain power. A green-haired boy was carrying 2 bags in his arms as he stopped at the front gate of a tall building. He was the only one there aside from his explosive friend and his teacher, who was sleeping in his yellow sleeping bag. Kakin, did Sensei tell you what we're doing today once we move in? The green-haired boy excitedly stuttered. No, all that bastard said was All Might was busy, and Midnight would be teaching us today. The blonde-haired boy grumbled. I wish he would get more sleep. Borealis, how's the back? It did take the full impact of the Namu. I've been having nightmares lately. The bright emerald-eyed boy stuttered as he yawned. It always feels like I'm about to be kill-led. I don't even remember All Might coming to save me. All I remember was being punched in the face, then waking up in Recovery Girl's office. As the 2 boys talked, their sleeping teacher woke up and started eavesdropping on the conversation. It was a chance to hear how his students were dealing with the attack for the black-haired man. The rest of the class started joining the discussion as they arrived. The blue-haired boy felt useless and weak. The explosive blonde hated his inability to help those in need, and the green-haired boy was traumatized by the situation. The rest of the students felt like they could have done more. The students were dealing with the trauma in their own way. The man resolved to keep a close eye on his students after today. He decided to help turn the attack into something they could learn and grow from and then move past it. His personal goal would be to make the attack a bad memory. Aizawa slowly got out of his sleeping bag as he made a mental note to talk to Principal Nezu about introducing some mental health classes into the curriculum. As he thought about it, he realized the green-haired boy's mother had probably suggested it to Nezu. Aizawa noticed the fierce determination in the boy's eyes. With a smirk about the similarities between mother and son, he moved towards the class with his sleeping bag folded in his right hand. Please leave your stuff in your dorm rooms. Once you enter the building, on your right is the room you've been assigned to and the key to the room, the black-haired teacher said in a monotone voice. We are picking hero names today. We have a new student joining the hero course, so don't be late. The class stared at the man as he walked towards the main building. The green-haired boy excitedly opened the brown door of the building and went inside. The first floor was empty, aside from 2 elevators on the left side of the room. Past the elevators was a stairwell leading to the other floors. There was another room just on the right side of the room. The walls were a white in color, and the floor was covered with brown carpet. On the right side of the room, there were 4 tables. Each table was labeled with a corresponding floor. The table closest to the door had the number 2 on its label. The table farthest from the door had the number 5 on its label. Izuku found his name on the table with the number 4 on it. His room was the furthest from the elevators. The green-haired boy was so excited to see the room he would be living in that he went to the stairs. It took a minute for him to make it to the top of the stairs. The green-haired speedster ran to the room that was the farthest from the elevators. He was pumped full of nervous energy that it took him a few moments to unlock the door. Next to the bed was a pile of boxes waiting to be unpacked. He dropped one of his bags and closed the door. After locking the door, he ran down the stairs. A few minutes later, the green-haired boy made it to the 1A classroom. The teacher was sleeping in his yellow sleeping bag on the left side of the room by the window. The only other person in the room was a fellow student that Izuku recognized from the sports festival. The boy had purple hair and bags under his eyes. He was slouching in an extra seat in the back of the classroom. The green-haired boy took his seat as he waited for the rest of the class to arrive. The emerald-eyed boy got lost in thought as he tried to come up with a possible hero name. After 5 minutes, the rest of the class started to filter into the room. As the class started to talk excitedly about the process of picking a hero name, the teacher slowly started to wake up. The black-haired teacher got out of his sleeping bag and walked to the front of the room. His eyes turned red as he activated his quirk. The class quickly went silent as their teacher started to address them. The purple-haired kid in the back is Hitoshi Shinzo. Today you will be picking hero names. I suck at that. So Midnight will be taking over for today, the black-haired professor said in a monotone voice. You better take this seriously. Most likely, you will be stuck with these names for the rest of your lives. A woman in a white skin-tight costume entered the room. She had a black mask surrounding her blue eyes. She was wearing a pair of black boots. Over the skin-tight outfit, she wore a black leotard. She had a smile on her face as she stood at the front of the class. The name you choose now will most likely become your hero names. So, choose wisely, the black-haired woman said in a serious tone. Your name has to pass muster, otherwise, I will make you pick another name. The first 2 hero names were strange. A blonde-haired boy with blue eyes who wore a peculiar belt went with the hero name, I Can't Stop Twinkling. The pink-skinned girl with horns on her head chose the name Alien Queen. The next person up was the green-haired girl who chose the hero name Froppy. After Asui revealed her hero name, the rest of the names were a bit more normal-sounding. After 30 minutes, the only students who hadn't gone up were Katsuki, Izuku, and Shinzo. The atomic blonde was the first one to go up. I chose this name because I want people to know where I will be when a situation occurs, the blonde-haired boy calmly said. The name I chose to go with is Explosion Hero, Ground Zero. Shortly after that, Izuku went up nervously. It took him a few moments to regain his composure before he spoke. Kaken helped me select this name. I chose this name so that people would know there's always hope they can hold on to. Izuku muttered as everyone stared at him. I went with the III Onizing hero, Borealis. The last person to go up was the newest member of Class 1A. As he went up, he seemed a bit grumpy. Just like everyone else, he hated the position that he was forced into. I chose this name to show my disgust with the people who try to force their will on others, the sleep-deprived boy grumpily said. I went with controlling hero, Siren. Sirens use their voices to control people. So, I want to use my voice quirk to prevent criminals from hurting people. Midnight then passed out a sheet of paper with the hero names each student chose. Once she passed the form out, she walked over to the other teacher and shook him awake. The sleep-deprived teacher got out of the sleeping bag as the other teacher left the room. After recent events, the support department thought it would be a good idea to have you write down any modification you want to make to your hero suits, the teacher tiredly said as he folded up his yellow sleeping bag. If you see anyone suspicious, please inform a teacher as soon as possible. The rest of the school day was pretty average. The only strange thing was that All Might canceled class. Class 1 was returning to their dorms when a man in a nice suit and vest approached them. It took a mere fraction of a second for the class to realize that it was the warping villain from USJ. The class froze for a fraction of a second as they didn't expect to see him again. During the brief moment of confusion, the well-dressed villain activated his quirk. A portal appeared underneath the students' feet, and they fell in before they could activate their quirks. Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called We The Celestial Naruto What If. We The Celestial Naruto What If mainly focuses on our Naruto What If series. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. In a different part of the city, a tall man with blonde hair was standing next to what used to be a factory to produce those nama. The heroes that had teamed up with the blonde hero were forced to retreat. The hero Best Jeanist had a large hole in him to the left of where his heart was. The other heroes grabbed him and retreated as a villain in a black suit appeared. The well-dressed man was wearing a black helmet over his face. It's a pleasure to see you, All Might, the man said menacingly. Did you think I wasn't informed about the raid on my hideouts? I see you still haven't chosen a successor. Are you sure you want to fight me? At that moment, 21 portals opened up around the area. The symbol of peace leaped into action. He rushed to save the students who were the farthest away from fight. Once they were safely on the ground, the hero ordered the students to start leading the people out of the area. The seconds ticked by as he rushed to save each student. His right leg locked up as he saved a blue-haired boy with glasses. Young Ada, I need your help with something, the symbol of peace said sadly. This isn't something I'm asking lightly. I need to know if you are up for the task. Sir, what can I do to help? I mean, I'm the person who couldn't even protect his classmates for the third time. The boy with glasses said with sorrow in his eyes. I will do what I can, sir. My time is running out. I took some serious damage during the sports festival. I need you to promise me that you will intern with my friend Sir Night-Eye, the man said as he tried to move his right arm to comfort the boy. I will. But why is that so important? Ada asked in shock as he realized the symbol of peace was unable to move his right arm. He will explain it to you in time, All Might said with sorrow in his voice as he pulled out a strand of hair. Eat this and make sure you intern with Night-Eye. I promise, sir. You better make it back to us in one piece. Ada said as tears started to form in his eyes. He ate the hair and then said, We need you to continue teaching us how to be true heroes, sir. You have my word. I will come back to you in one piece, the symbol of peace said through gritted teeth. Now, go help the rest of your class save lives. Yes, sir, and remember everyone is counting on you, sir, the boy with blue hair said as he tried to smile. As the boy sped off, the fire coming out of the exhaust pipes on his legs turned white. The boy started racing towards the nearest person in need of assistance. The symbol of peace watched with a sorrowful smile on his face. Young Ada, in time I hope you will understand why I lied today, the #1 hero in the world muttered to himself. Recovery Girl was right. I most likely won't survive this fight in one piece. I hope you forgive me for deceiving you. Today is the last time I will be able to teach you guys how to be heroes. With that, the man sighed as the weight of the world came crashing down on his shoulders. The symbol of peace was determined to make sure that he brought down the villain before him. He needed to make sure that he left the world safer for his students. The hero leaped back towards the villain, who seemed to be waiting there patiently for his return. The well-dressed man let out a laugh as his arms started to swell. Did you have enough time to say goodbye to your students, All Might? All for One said in a mocking tone of voice. There are no goodbyes for heroes, All Might said as he scowled at the villain. I will bring you down. Your reign over the underworld ends today. You can't defeat me this time, All Might. Your luck has run out, the ruler of the underworld said as he unleashed his attack. The two symbols stared at each other as All Might used his left hand to block the incoming attack. Blood with a silver tint to it started to cover the symbol of peace's left hand. The hero then rushed the masked figure before the man could attack again. The blonde hero's left hand spasmed for a moment. At that moment, his left hand opened up. All Might managed to hold his fingers firmly together. However, his fingers were no longer pressed against the palm of his hand. Now they were outstretched with the thumb still pressed against his palm. The symbol of peace tried in vain to form a fist once again. As the symbol of peace drew closer to the symbol of fear, the hero grabbed the villain's outstretched arm with his right hand and pulled the villain towards him. All Might tried one last time to close his fist as he attacked with his left hand. His outstretched fingers refused to budge. At that moment, All Might's left hand stabbed through All for One's flesh. As All Might pulled his hand out, he left some of his blood behind in his nemesis. The man in the mask's left arm slowly expanded as spikes started to emerge from his arm. All for One threw a straight left punch into the chest of the symbol peace. As the villain punched, he rotated 180 degrees so that his thumb pointing towards the ground. As the punch hit All Might, several small spikes emerged between the knuckles of the well-dressed man. Just after the moment of impact, the villain's left arm shrank as it released a large amount of compressed air directed at All Might. With several small stab wounds, the blonde hero saw a massive trail of destruction on either side of him. The symbol of peace finally regained control over his motor functions and rushed towards his opponent. The villain raised his left arm to release a shockwave to protect himself from the force of the attack. However, All for One was a moment too slow as the hero simply grabbed the villain's arm with his left arm and sent a straight right punch into the villain's mask. The force of the blow destroyed any of the surrounding buildings that were still standing. The two foes were locked in combat, surrounded by the destruction of several city blocks. The mask covering the villain's face broke under the impact of the blow. The villain was completely bald. He was missing his two eyes. The villain simply smiled as he started to heal from his injuries. Several cries for help could be heard off in the distance. Behind the villain, a series of explosions could be heard. To the left of the two combatants, a constant rumble of thunder could be heard. The other two directions were deceptively quiet. Mr. Symbol of Peace, doesn't this bother you? Your students are risking their lives trying to save people. All for One taunted as he kept a smile on his face. Shouldn't you be trying to save the lives of those innocent people so your students can make their way to safety? My students are training to be heroes. I have faith that they will make it through this, the Symbol of Peace said as he started to get angry. Taking you down will mean a safer tomorrow for everyone. What's with that frown, All Might? Shouldn't the Symbol of Peace have a smile on his face? The villain taunted as he started to build up energy in his right arm. The Symbol of Peace started to deflate as he was slowly running out of energy. He pushed more than 100% of his power into his right arm and rushed the villain. All for One raised his right arm and caught the punch being thrown at him. As the force of the impact occurred, the villain released the energy he had built up. A ball of bright red energy enveloped the two. The explosion simply vaporized anything within 50 feet of the blast. The shockwave from the blast caused buildings to collapse if they were within 200 feet of the explosion. As the dust began to settle, two figures could be seen at the center of the explosion. The villain's suit was in ruins. Both sleeves were entirely vaporized, and there were several tears in the fabric of his clothing around his body. All for One was bleeding from his forehead as the symbol of peace kept bringing his forehead down on the villain. The villain kept an unnerving smile on his face. Unlike the hero, he was fighting the burns and wounds on his body slowly began to heal. However, the wound on his forehead began to ooze blood that had a silver color in it. The symbol of peace's right arm was covered in third-degree burns. He had a bone sticking out of the arm in two places. The hero was missing his right ear, which was burned off in the explosion. His right eye was burned closed. Bone and muscle could be seen on All Might's face as his skin was partially burned off. At this point, the symbol of peace was forcing himself to stay in his hero form. For a couple of seconds, neither of them were capable of moving. Both of them found that something was impairing their ability to move. After 30 seconds, the two jumped apart. The atmosphere surrounding the fight had changed. Both had scowls on their faces. Neither of them were willing to back down. It was almost as if the victor would be decided by who fell first. The villain briefly flexed his right hand, almost as if he was trying to detect why he was having issues moving it. The symbol of peace looked at his body through his one good eye. He noticed that his muscles were starting to twitch. His right arm appeared almost completely useless. Despite his body reaching its limits, he was determined to bring his opponent to justice. He knew from the state of his body that he only had the strength left for one last blow. Their gazes met once they finished examining their own bodies. All for One covered his right fist in spikes. A stream of fire started being released from his right elbow. His arm began to slowly enlarge once again. The symbol of peace simply let the rest of his body deflate and poured the last of his strength into his left arm. The two started to move towards each other once again. All Might's blow landed first, as his left hand collided with All for One's face. He yelled out, "United States of Smash." All for One's right arm hit the symbol of peace on the left side of the body. All Might felt the ribs on the left side of his body shatter as the spikes pierced his body. All for One felt bones in the right side of his face being crushed under the power that the symbol of peace put into his fist. The two were standing straight, staring at each other for a few moments. The spikes the villain created slowly broke apart as he coughed up blood that looked completely silver in color. The symbol of peace's left arm slowly started to revert to its regular form as the strength slowly faded from his body. Both All Might and All for One simply collapsed as the last of their strength slowly vanished. Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. On behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer of this video and editors for this video. Their details will be in the description. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord that is in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out mortals, have a fantastic day.